Hey guys, hey guys, check out this awesome piece of wood I got. Today we're going to turn this into a stand-up desk. The first thing you might be thinking is, wow Max, it's going to be a really long desk. And you'd be right. So our first step is going to be to figure out which side we want and cut it down. What I'm going to go for here is this, if I can get it measured out right, to be like an elbow holder for the person to use their mouse. So it would look something like this. Ugh. Oh, all right, something like this. Boom, mouse, computer. So we'll cut off a little bit there, cut off that end, and I think this will work. How about we don't ask about the random pair of dress shoes I'm wearing, and instead just be impressed by my show of physical strength by picking the slab up. I'm gonna go ahead and start with taking off the bark along the edge. A lot of it, you'll honestly probably be able to just pull off with your hands and then sand it after. Or really, you can use a chisel. You can use things like draw knives. I could have ripped it off with my hands. I just didn't want to. You can pay attention to what you need to be taking off by looking at your end grain here. Obviously, this is good board. This is sapwood, so it's probably bark, a little bit of sapwood, and then getting into your actual hardboard. So you'll want to take as much as you can all the way to that hardboard would be best. For this, whether you're using a chisel or draw knife, it's best to put on an audiobook and just go to town, try to enjoy the process, and really feel out where the live edge is and feel how you want the wood to look. This will make you feel like a real woodworker, whatever that is. I try not to get too far into the wood just because you want to keep the live edge on there. You don't want to have to recreate it with your sander. So I get the bark pretty low and then I'll sand off the rest to try to keep as much of the real live edge as we got. For most woods, you'll see a drastic change once you get through all the bark and sapwood. Then I'm getting to the actual hardwood here. I'm just going to use 80 grit on my sander just to finish it off and smooth it all out. Now that we got the bark taken off the sides and sanded to 80 grit, we can go ahead and move to the top of the slab, where now we'll want to first take care of any cracks that you may have in your slab. You can use epoxy, you can use wood filler, you can use super glue. Here's the Starbond super glue I have that I'm going to use. This is actually for gap filler thick. This is just the accelerator, and I'm going to do 2 coats. I'm going to go ahead and put one in accelerated, just a light coat in there to kind of seal the edges, and then I'll put the filler coat in. Super glue works a little better if you put the lid on after use. Time to call in the big dogs. Now we're going to start with the top of our slab. I'm going to use the belt sander to go ahead and flatten that out. With some YouTube magic, this belt sanding is only going to take about 5 seconds. Now that we've done all the belt sanding, I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to its actual length before we do more sanding, because we'll want to clean up the edges from the cut while we sand. The way I've got this shaped is for the person to sit into here, and this little knot here to be for the elbow rest. So all I'm doing is matching up the 26 inches, which would be the middle, to where I expect the person to be sitting. Now, since it's a live edge, it's really hard to get this line to be perfectly square with it down on the other end. So what I do is get our mark where we marked our 52 inches, and then I'll use my big square here, carpenter square, to decide what I deem would be the 90 to where they're sitting. So I use this in to imagine where they'll be sitting, how they'll be sitting, to make this 90 degrees to it. And then we'll be able to base the other end's line off of this one. I've got my straight edge, which you can see in another video too on how to build this. Pretty simple, but I'm just going to end up lining the straight edge up with my line, cutting it, doing the same thing on the other side. Don't worry guys, practically none of that sawdust is getting in my lungs. I've got my mask protecting me. And don't worry about my computer, it's got its mask on too. Alright, our slab's looking really good now. Let me go ahead and switch over to the orbital sander and hit both sides with 80 and 120 grit. This part's pretty tiresome and definitely makes you wish you had an industrial belt sander. Since we, and you guys probably don't at your house, if you do need one, say you need it perfectly flat and you don't have a router sled to use or something, but you can check with your hardwood dealer. A lot of times they will run this across a few times for you for just a small price. So there's always that option too. Scribbling lines on your workpiece is an old woodworker's secret trick, so you're lucky I'm showing you here. Now sand and then keep on sanding and then keep on sanding. And then when you get really tired, go ahead and take a nap on the floor and then get back up and keep on sanding. Here's our raising legs. Whoa, all right. I'm going to pause it right here. I feel like I need to explain that I might have lost a fight with a beard trimmer on Christmas. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm curious on how many of you actually made it to this point in the video. So start your comment off with ugly beard, then I'll know who made it here. I got these off Amazon for only $100. And if you look at raising leg desks that are fully kitted with the slab and everything, you're talking $700,000, $800,000, up to $3,000. You'll see it on some of them. So I got the legs for $100. The slab was only $50 for the whole long one that I had. So we cut that in half. For this piece, that's only $25. So really, you're looking at $125, maybe $150 with a couple other things to build this whole $700,000, $800,000 desk that you can sell. One thing you will run into with these raising legs, just when you're using live edge, obviously, we got all kinds of different measurements across here. So sometimes they won't fit perfectly on, which is totally fine. I always get bigger than what I need, especially for the weight that it can hold. And then I can just cut this off right where I need it, drill another hole if I want for some more screws. These are made of just aluminum, so they're safe to be able to cut on your miter saw. Check your blade, make sure that it's a combination blade and can handle any of the metal. Most blades will be able to. I still throw on my mask just because the metal kind of sketches me out on here. And no, this is not as safe as it looks. You also have the option of a jigsaw with metal cutting blade, if that'll make you feel safer. Now we've got all the sides cut to fit. I'll go ahead and finish the installation, which is just the instructions with these pieces of legs to get the cross member on. Comes with a really cool finger pad. But let's see if it works before I screw everything down. Let's raise it up. That's awesome. Back down. All right, let me try to get it down and flipped over. Scratch the top. Oh, scratch the top. Oh. Oh. It's okay. All right. The top still just needs a little bit of sanding and some finish. Let's see if this works. Probably need to plug it in, huh? I guess tapping the top is a good way to check for balance. I mean, I did it, so it's gotta be, right? For the finish, let's bring in some Rubio Monocoat. It may be a little expensive, but as far as the ease of use goes, it's totally worth it. Don't listen to weirdos on the internet, except this weirdo on the internet. But poplar will turn a little bit green whenever sanded and first finished, but it will go back to brown. You can speed up the process just by setting the desk outside in the sun, or just give it a couple weeks. You can even go back to the 7-minute mark and you'll see the underside that I finished about 2 days prior and it's already gone quite a bit brown.